Welcome to the Publish Her podcast, a place where you can come to get inspiration, motivation, help, encouragement, and support in your journey to write, publish, and sell your book. Hosted by Alexa Bigwarfe.
'Cause I've been where you've been, and I felt what you're feeling, and I don't want to get in your way.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Publish Her podcast. Today, I'm doing an author interview, which I absolutely love doing because I think one of the best ways that I learn and grow, and that a lot of authors learn and grow, is from hearing from other authors, not only the good, but also the things that may have been challenging in the journey, so that we can learn together, learn from each other's mistakes, learn from the things that are going well and working well, and make our experiences publishing and launching books as amazing as they can possibly be. So today, I'm really pleased to bring you Antoinette Martin. She is a teacher and award-winning children's book author who loves to share her bookish events with kids. And as this publishes today, her book, Famous Seaweed Soup, just launched yesterday. And this is a really fun project because this is actually a book that was published years ago and did very well. But, time goes on, publishers move on, things happen, and Antoinette decided to redo the book with brand new, fresh illustrations that are more in line with what's popular and happening in today's world. And it's just a really fun experience to be involved with her on this project. So welcome, Antoinette. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for the kind intro.
Well, you have been here. You have been so much fun to work with. And I just want to say it's always a pleasure working with authors who are as committed, if not more committed, to their process than the publisher is. So I want to dig into, first of all, to tell people about this book. Obviously, it's a children's picture book, but tell people about how you published and then decided, the story. Let's hear the story.
Sure. Okay, so the story first came to be over almost 40 years ago, watching my eldest daughter, who was just 3 years old back then, play on the beach. And every time we went, she was always doing something. She was always playing. And I'm a good observer. That's what I do. That's how I collect my stories. And I'm writing the stories and writing. And after a little while, I fashioned Famous Seaweed Soup. And of course, she loved the story because her name was in it. And my mom liked it because she always loves everything I write. But it took a while for it to become submittable. Mm-hmm. And I had joined a writers group, which was incredible. And, we would share our manuscripts, and I'd get some really good feedback. I changed things, tweak things. And way back then in the early 1990s, when one submitted manuscripts, you would go to the library, look up publishers, see who's doing what, who to submit to, write your query letter, and put your manuscript in a self-addressed stamped envelope with a self-addressed stamped envelope and hope for the best. So I did that for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Until I finally got, and you're always studying the market, who's looking for what, so I was reading all the magazines and whatnot. So after about 5 years, I get a letter from Kathy Tucker from Albert Whitman and Company. And she says, "This story reminds me of my childhood." So I caught her on a really good day. And then the process began. But it was a really good learning process. I learned a lot about editing. I learned how to be so much more patient, and just waiting for little snippets of things. And back then, in the early 90s, some of my writer friends were getting published as well, and they were getting upset because their characters turned into ostriches or teddy bears. And because they had no voice in how it's going to look.
Right.
So, and I too didn't have a voice. They contracted Nadine Bernard Westcott, who at the time was so popular. She illustrated all the Raffi books. I don't know, you might be too young for Raffi, but all the Raffi books. And she had a relationship with Albert Whitman and always agreed to do one book for them a year. And she chose mine for that year. So I had no connection, no communication. I couldn't send her a picture,
Oh my
nothing.
goodness.
So I
Wow.
was really, biting at the bit. And the editor was very kind. Every once in a while, she would send me a sketch. And, it was not at all my vision,
Mm.
but, and there was a line or two in there that I wanted to keep in, but I was told that this is not your story
Oh
anymore.
my. Oh my.
It must appeal to the masses. So there were a lot of grunts and groans and everything, but they were publishing my book, and out it came in 1993 in a hardcover. It was beautiful. It was very exciting. I was working full time in a special needs daycare, and I was, able to read to the kids. I went to schools. I really enjoyed sharing the book. My whole family got a copy. Everybody got a copy. Within 2 years, Albert Whitman published it in paperback and had it translated into Spanish. It was in big book form. SRA Macmillan picked it up for big book form. So it lived a really fun, happy life for about 17 years. And in between that time, I had a lot of students, still remember my book. And, it was still the beaches that I go to, it's still in the beach house libraries and on their bookshelves. So when it was out of print, when it went out of print after a couple of years, I get the galleys back, so I was free to do what I wanted with the story. It became my story again. And it took a little while. I pondered, how can I peddle this out and see who would want it. And none of the trades were interested. So I looked to hybrid publishing, and I had done my memoir with a hybrid publisher, and it was okay, worked out okay. But then I hooked up with Alexa's group, Write, Publish, Sell, and went to the summit, which got me all very excited and thinking maybe I could do this. And there we have it, so after some hemming and hawing and scraping up some money,
Yeah.
we put it together, and it's been a great experience. I really don't think I would have been brave enough or resourceful enough to do this, independently on my own right now. Just where my life is right now, I just couldn't see myself doing it. But what has been so exciting is getting the being asked, what do you think? Or, how do you see this? What do you think about the fonts? What do you think about this and that? And being able to pick my illustrator was wonderful.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
having a say with that. So far, so good.
good. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest differences when people ask, traditional versus hybrid publishers, is even though a hybrid publisher will act as the publisher and make sure all the things are done, set it
Mhm.
up, do all of those things, make sure the editorial and trade reviews are in, make sure it's positioned properly, get it in front of libraries and retailers, et cetera, et cetera. So you're not having to go figure out all of those things. I think the biggest
Right.
difference is that partnership level where you are more involved in the process, and you don't lose that feeling like you did with the first experience where, like, this is no longer your book. Um, and in our case with Purple Butterfly Press, we definitely want it to still be your book because, you know, we want you to be proud of it and out there marketing and doing all of the things that you want to do. So let's
Mhm.
actually talk about the marketing piece because you've been a
Yes.
superstar in terms of
Oh,
getting out there and doing the work. Your book, you know, in the months leading up to your launch, let's talk about some of the things that you have been out there doing in terms of media and collaborations and bookstores and all of those fun things.
well, great. Okay, so the first thing I have to say is that I have been blogging for a number of years.
Mhm.
So I have a blog, I have a voice out there. Um, things, kind of change over time, but I think having the blog was a big help. And I'm very comfortable working it myself. So I'm not I don't have to worry about how somebody else interprets what I'm trying to say. I get it out there myself.
Right.
Um, then I use Facebook and introduced to Instagram. I have a little bit of a presence with LinkedIn and very mild presence with Twitter. But what I try to do is to get a little bit of news out, either weekly or bi-weekly. Right now, it seems like it's every day, and share it in groups that will accept the share. Not, it's not like a promotion type of thing. So that's been helpful. I've done some legwork and gone into my local towns and my libraries. And a few local bookstores. There's really not too many indie bookstores in my area, which is really kind of sad.
Yeah.
So Barnes and Noble is here, but they're not always friendly towards independent published work. But I do have one date, so that's good. So we'll see where
Yes.
that goes. But I think my best way to market is in the schools.
Mhm.
And I'm a retired teacher. I am registered in the East End BOCES Art and Education in the Arts program, where the schools can contract me to come in and do workshops and presentations and author visits to their schools,
Very
to their
nice.
classrooms. So since COVID is slowly but surely calming down and I'm able to get in, I think this will be the best way for me to keep marketing. And I'm learning how to do it virtually. That's
Yes.
another thing.
It's an
Yeah.
important piece of it. I'm
Yeah, so I
curious.
can go beyond my borders.
Exactly. I definitely want to talk about some of the media interviews that you have done. But before we do that, as a teacher with the experience of getting in front of classrooms, do you have any advice for a picture book author who's not a teacher on how they approach schools and get into schools in their area? Because as you said, schools are one of the most important avenues
Mhm.
for picture book authors.
That's right. I would advise to get a hold of the PTO or the PTA, depending on how they acronym it. Um, They are the people who organize the cultural arts, the visits, the events in the schools. So it's best to start in your local school district, find out who's the PTA chairperson for cultural arts, and go from there. School librarians are also a wonderful resource, and uh, have a little presentation show prepared. You have your book, have a small activity, be it an arts or crafts or a language game, something like that. So it kind of sets you apart from just reading a book.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important because
Mhm.
from my perspective as a parent who's seen what's happening in the classroom, I know that anytime that you can approach a teacher with something that's going to allow her to teach a lesson based around it. So lesson
Exactly.
plans, having those lesson plans available for them as well, I think is really important.
Right. And you can look up the Common Core numbers,
mhm.
what's going on, what's supposed to be taught in the classroom, and associate your book with that. And just being able to have some fun, simple games. I do a memory game with Famous Seaweed Soup,
Uh-huh.
that sort of thing. With my other books, I did a historic scavenger hunt.
Fun.
So, things like that would just kind of perk the ears
Yeah,
of your
I know.
PTO chairperson.
I know that one of the NetGalley reviews that we received was from an early education teacher, and her comment was, I can see this completely being used in preschool, pre-K, kindergarten classes when talking about, because they do lessons on sea life or marine life or beach life,
Right.
or anything associated with that. So I think that also helps bridge the gap. Anytime you can, when you're marketing to those folks, you can say, this book is a great resource for any units that you're doing on XYZ topic to help your children learn about it.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So
and that's important.
yes, absolutely. And same, that tactic can be used when marketing to homeschooling moms too, and preschool groups, MOPS, anything of that nature.
Right.
Showing them how they can use the book to actually teach their children something is really key and important. Okay.
That's right.
So let's get back to the marketing piece. So you've also done several key interviews, I believe, in addition to this podcast. You're looking for other opportunities to get out there. What have been your activities so far in terms of expanding your reach in front of other audiences, and how have you gotten the ones that you already have?
Well, I did some legwork. I went actually into a local newspaper's office. I've done a lot of emails, and also, kind of chit-chatted on Facebook and Instagram, looking at those podcasts to see if I can get a date.
That's a really fun way to let people, when people often talk about, like, do I have to be on social media? Do I need to be posting on social media and all that kind of stuff? But just that point in particular is why social media can be very important and useful, not just because of the content that you are promoting, but because of what other people are talking about and connections and relationships you can build with other entities. Pat Black Gold, who is one of your sisters in Purple Butterfly Press, speaking of using Goodreads, which is I guess a social networking platform for readers, especially, you could say, like that. She wound up getting contacted for a major interview and a major platform booster through an organization who found her book on Goodreads. So,
isn't that something?
It's amazing. And just knowing that these are just social media, Goodreads, any of these tools that get your book out in front of other audiences, they can be massively important in shining a light on your book to people that wouldn't have seen your stuff any other way. So you've done a couple of radio or news media interviews as well, haven't you?
Yes. I walked into the radio station out on the east end of Long Island, WLIW, and got an interview with an NPR radio station.
Awesome.
And she was so accommodating and so sweet. I've gone there twice, and she's put me in touch in some other local media activities that are going on. The East End Arts Council is doing a big art mosaic street painting, and I'm there for Memorial Day. So she hooked me up with that. So, things like that, it's like a linking hands.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the main point for listeners to get here is that these things didn't just fall in your lap. You went out, you did the
No.
legwork, you made connections, you went into stores, you went into libraries, you went into radio places, and you just asked the question. And I think, you know, how else, what we hear all the time is, you know, worst case scenario, someone says no. Is that
Yeah, that's
really that
it.
big of a
Get
deal,
used to
right?
it.
Exactly. But best case scenario, you get on NPR and you get invited to
Right.
market places and art shows and schools and all these fun
Mhm.
things. So, you know, don't be afraid to get out there and ask questions and make relationships and do all of those things.
Right. And even though it's local and it's, you know, it's kind of a tight radius, um, these things have a way of reaching out because of social media.
Right. Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's, thank you for all of those tips. I think that's it, you know, again,
Thank
as I
you.
said at the very beginning of the interview, sometimes we just don't even, would have never crossed my mind to just walk into a radio station and ask them if I could be on their show. So, you know, things like these are great tips. When it comes to post-launch marketing, like what do you have? Are you lining up things with you live on the coast? Are there gift
Mhm.
shops or things like that that you're working with, or opportunities in on that realm?
Yes, I'm our little boat is in the water, so I can get to these little these little Fire Island towns and
Nice.
start, you know, pounding the pavement with them. I'm in dialogue with National Park Service
Nice.
and with the Fire Island Lighthouse people and the Maritime Museum.
Wonderful.
So yeah, so I'm hoping that I could get a lot of summer gigs in for that, and that will hopefully inspire some school dates that would come
Yes.
up.
Wonderful. One of the things from the publisher side that we've done, which has been really fun to watch, is the children's book review tour. Tell us about your
Mhm.
experience with that.
Oh, they've been so warm and wonderful, I have to say. Uh, you know, they asked very good questions, and I did appreciate having the time to, you know, think about it and write them out, write out the answers. So for me, that's good because I'm not always that witty, and so that has been that was a big boost. And you know, so I'm also didn't realize that there was this whole community
Right.
of reviewers. So I'm
Yes.
hoping to keep in touch. You know, I've subscribed to their newsletters and their website so I could follow and see what they're doing and how they're doing it. And again, another way to be social within this genre.
Yes. It's
And
great. It's
yeah,
and it's more people who are out there sharing about your book in front of their audiences that you
mhm.
can't read, that you might not have been able to
I
reach on
might
your
not
own.
never have seen the, you know, been able to reach these people without them.
Right.
So it's really a gift. Thank you. It's really it's really been very exciting.
Well, and it's fun to see that the reviews come in and the blog posts
Hmm.
and seeing all of these people talking about the book. And then one of the cool things about it too is that they allowed us to set up a giveaway with your review tour. And
What a giveaway.
yes, I love that we're giving away a 30 book classroom set, because
Classroom set. Isn't
yeah,
that
that
great?
draws in the attention of teachers.
Hmm.
Again, our biggest target audience for picture books, right, is getting it
Hmm.
on the radar of
Yes.
the teachers. And then we've been running some other giveaways and doing some outreach to influencers on Instagram who review children's books. And we'll hopefully, as we move into the final week of launch, hopefully we'll be seeing a ton of stuff happening on Instagram
Yeah.
and just fun things happening. So these are the pieces of marketing that the work going into it is quite challenging, but when you see the results, it's just so much fun.
Right. Yeah. I have to say, this has been, this is my sixth or seventh book out, and this has been the most fun in the
Yes.
marketing end of things.
Well, that's good. I'm very
Yeah.
glad to hear that.
Either that or I'm getting the hang of it.
Right. Well, it could be some of that too. And as a veteran writer, as someone who's got experience with you, I'm sure there's a lot of things that as a first-time author, you would have been very intimidated or scared or even not
Oh,
known
sure.
to do. And now okay, if I get out there and I do these things, I know what the result is going to be. And that's what we want. Um,
Yeah.
What about, do you have any things that along the way were surprising to you, or maybe you're like, oops, shouldn't have done that, or should have done more of this, and this can be with this book launch or any
Mhm.
of the other ones you've done, because you write middle grade books as well, correct?
Right. Yeah. I finished that series. Um, I wish I was just a little more aggressive, not in a and not in a pushy way, but in a you know entertaining way,
Right.
because I'm always feeling that I'm bothering
Oh, yes, I know what feeling that.
people, and you already heard from me, but yeah, here I am again,
Yeah.
saying the same thing. And so I need to get over this thing that I'm a pest rather than I'm not a pest, that I'm just trying to make something happen here.
I understand this feeling quite well, and I think it's anyone that is involved in any type of sales, marketing, products, anything probably has the same feeling. But I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day, and the thing, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, the general rule, I suppose, in marketing used to be that you have to say something 7 times for someone to take action on it, right?
Right.
So they have to see something 7 times. Well, would you believe that now, because of the amount of content that we're consuming every single day from
Mm-hmm.
social media and news and blog posts and emails and all that kind of stuff, it's now 22
True.
times.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
22 times. So you don't get to feel like a pest until you've hit number 23.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. So
I got to keep track.
it takes a lot, or we're
It
also
does.
busy.
Right. And then you have to remember where you found it, where you saw it.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's so that's why it has to keep cropping up.
Well, and it's also a very important reason for growing the email list, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a little bit easier for people to keep track of. When they know they received an email, they can search that or go back and find it, or you can send
Exactly.
another one, or you can resend
Mm-hmm.
the unopens, or you can do all of those types of things. All right.
Right.
Well, um, before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to share with your fellow picture book authors? Tips, advice, anything, encouragement, anything you'd like to share?
I'd like to share. Yes. Well, for one thing, keep writing those stories. Watch how kids play, watch how they speak and interact with each other, and are genuinely kids. Yeah, I think sometimes we forget that they're just children, that they are children, and they are
Yes.
just discovering new things that are old hat to us, and all these little new things are important discoveries, and I find wonder and beauty in that, and
Yes.
look for that when you're writing your stories.
I love that. And it's true, I've seen some submissions from authors who have great intention in mind with their
Mhm.
stories, but they're written like an adult would be reading the book,
Right.
or and an adult probably is reading the book to the children. But when you're writing
Mhm.
them, they have to be written so that the person who's enjoying the book, receiving the book, is on that same page. I love that advice to watch how children play, see what they're doing,
Right.
see all
It's
those
not
types.
it's not necessarily like dumbing down language or anything. It's making the language more uh, accessible
Yes.
and salient and memorable.
Well, and also keeping in mind that with a picture book, the picture is going to do so much talking for
Mhm.
you that you don't
Right,
have to have tons and tons of words, because that's what those beautiful illustrations are. And Penny Weber did
exactly.
an amazing job
Oh
with
my
your
gosh.
illustrations.
I have to put a plug in for Penny because she has been just wonderful. And what a gift. She lives nearby, 5 miles
That's so
away.
cool.
We go to lunch.
That's wonderful. Her watercolor illustrations are
Yeah,
just
just beautiful.
stunning, and they're just perfect for this type of book at the seaside
Exactly.
and all of those things. So, well, Antoinette, I'm super proud of you. I'm so happy to be working with this on you. I can't wait to see the results of this. And if you are looking for a great book about a fun day and really a story kind of about independence, right? Learning how to
Mhm.
do something on your
Independence and
own.
resilience.
Exactly. Check out Famous Seaweed Soup by Antoinette Martin. You can find it wherever books are sold. It is
Mhm.
available everywhere. And we would just be tickled to death if you support Antoinette as one of our community members by either suggesting this book as a resource if you have children in elementary school, if you know a librarian, if you know teachers, if you know moms that are homeschooling or preschool moms, or if you just want to get it for your own children or grandchildren. Famous Seaweed Soup.
Thank you, Alexa. It's been a privilege, I have to say.
Thank you so much, Antoinette. And we will bid you adieu at this moment
Yeah.
and see you at the next episode. Thanks so much.
Yes. Great. Thank you.
You don't have to give me your heart. You don't have to give it away. You don't
Thank you for joining us on the Publish Her Podcast. We hope to see you back for the next episode. Great, huge thanks goes to Jasmine Commerce for the use of her song. You can find Jasmine on SoundCloud. Go check out all of her music. We'll see you next time.